Late at night, a young man in his early 30s waits at a nearly abandoned train station. The flickering fluorescent lights hum overhead as he glances at his watch. The train is late. Again, the platform is eerily silent, except for the occasional sound of the wind sweeping through. The station is old, with cracked tiles and a faint smell of mildew in the air. His name is Alex, a graphic designer heading home after an unusually long day at work. He looks around, noticing that he's completely alone. The schedule board above the platform flickers and glitches, its text distorting before resetting. He shrugs it off, thinking it's just the station's outdated technology acting up. As Alex takes a seat on a worn metal bench, he notices someone at the far end of the platform, a woman in a long dark coat sitting perfectly still. Her back is turned to him, and her posture is unnaturally rigid. He didn't hear her arrive, and she wasn't there a moment ago. "Late night, huh?" he calls out, trying to break the silence. The woman doesn't respond. He frowns, shifting uncomfortably, and decides to leave her alone. The distant sound of a train whistle breaks the silence, echoing through the empty station. Alex stands and looks down the tracks, relieved that his ride is finally approaching. He glances back at the woman, but she's gone. The bench where she sat is empty, and there's no sign of her anywhere on the platform. His skin prickles, and a strange unease settles over him. "Weird," he mutters to himself. The train screeches to a halt in front of him, and the doors hiss open. The interior lights are dim, and the train car is completely empty. Alex hesitates for a moment before stepping inside. The doors close behind him with a metallic clang, and the train begins to move. He takes a seat near the middle of the car, placing his bag on the seat beside him. The rhythmic sound of the train on the tracks is oddly soothing, and he starts to relax. As the train speeds through the dark tunnels, Alex glances at the window across from him. His reflection stares back, but something is off. The reflection isn't mirroring his movements. It's just sitting there, staring directly at him with an unsettling grin. He blinks and rubs his eyes. When he looks again, his reflection is normal. "I need more sleep," he mutters, trying to laugh it off. A crackling sound comes over the train's intercom, followed by a garbled voice. "Next stop, nowhere." Alex freezes. "What the hell?" he whispers. He looks around, but the train is still empty. He presses the button for assistance, but nothing happens. The lights flicker violently, and when they come back on, he sees the woman from the station sitting at the far end of the car. Her head is tilted slightly, and her face is obscured by her long, dark hair. "Hey!" Alex calls out, his voice trembling. "Who are you? What's going on?" The woman slowly stands and begins to walk toward him. Her footsteps make no sound. As she gets closer, he notices her movements are stiff, almost mechanical. Her face remains hidden behind her hair. Panicking, Alex moves to the other end of the car, gripping the poles for balance as the train lurches. "Stay back!" he shouts. The train suddenly screeches to a stop, throwing Alex off balance. When he looks up, the woman is standing inches away from him. She lifts her head, revealing hollow, black sockets where her eyes should be. Her mouth stretches into an unnatural smile. "You shouldn't have boarded," she whispers, her voice echoing unnaturally. The doors of the train open, revealing not a station but a dark, desolate landscape filled with shadowy figures. They stand motionless, their heads all turned toward the train. Without thinking, Alex bolts for the open doors, desperate to escape. He leaps out of the train and stumbles onto the cracked, barren ground. The train disappears behind him, vanishing into thin air. The shadowy figures begin to move toward him, their features indistinguishable, but their intent unmistakable. Alex runs, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Alex's vision begins to blur, and the landscape around him distorts. He suddenly finds himself back on the train platform, sitting on the bench where he started. The station is just as empty and silent as before. The train whistle echoes in the distance, and the schedule board flickers once more. Alex stares at it, realizing the nightmare is far from over. As the train arrives, he stands and watches the doors hiss open. This time, he doesn't move, but the same woman in the dark coat steps out, her hollow eyes locked onto his. The screen fades to black, with the faint sound of the train pulling away.